A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen, tribbles and tribblettes, and various unassignable gendered voidwalkers. Welcome to Nerd Lives Matter, the podcast for outcasts, where all lives matter, unless you're a Stark of Winterfell. I'm Dwayne, the bathtub is drowning, and with me as always is none other than my brother from another mother, my pancreas buddy, Abraham on whole wheat, who's got mad hits like Rod Carew. Well, tonight we're going to be talking about, we're going to be doing our Rebel Roundup, as per usual. We're going to be talking about the Final Fantasy VII Remake and the TMNT 2 trailer, Samurai Jack's return, big Gendy fan, so that's going to be fun. And we will be doing one of our other features, the Ask a Nerd section. So let's go ahead and get started with the Rebel Roundup.
All right, man.
Yes,
Cool.
sir.
So, yeah, there's actually, there's been a lot of interesting news coming out. We're 1 week away, man. We're 1 week away, literally 7 days. I have my tickets for the 17th. This time, well, it's 10:26. What is going on? It's that green stuff on your screen, man.
There's no green stuff on
Only
this
now
list.
it's not the ghost. It's like a rowdy. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. We're not using camo. Okay, we'll just edit that out.
Just, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Snip that bitch right out, buddy.
Fuck.
So
It's
anyway.
just weird because half of your face is all green. Whatever.
I'm not seeing anything, dude. Maybe
Okay.
your internet's just doing some weird shit.
All right, cool. All right. So
You
we're
want to start over?
No, we can just start.
Okay,
We're
just
one
go ahead.
week
Yeah,
away.
jump in.
Okay. We're 1 freaking week away, man. 7 days. I have my tickets for the 17th. It is 10:26 p.m. right now, so in exactly 7 days, I might just be getting out of the theater, having experienced The Force Awakens. So I'm super stoked about that. In regards to the Star Wars news this week, there's always something happening. Right now, especially because we're only 1 week away. Some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about specifically this week, or that I wanted to bring up, was did you see Carrie Fisher on Good Morning America by chance?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
with
awesome.
George the dog.
Yep.
That was freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
I didn't know she really still had it in her to be so off the cuff about everything. It's great.
Yeah. That's
Really
why you give her so much shit for her looks, but I'm like, man, she's so hilarious. She's so awesome.
Fisher the Hutt. I know. I'm sorry. I still love you, Carrie.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I don't know if you know about this, but after that whole GMA thing, I guess Lucasfilm got so many questions or so many emails asking whether or not George the dog had a cameo in The Force Awakens, and J.J. Abrams had to had to make a press release saying that no, unfortunately, unlike Billy Lord, who is Carrie Fisher's daughter, who actually is in the movie, unfortunately George the dog is not. So sadly. Maybe he'll be in the sequel. Who knows?
Wah, wah.
Yeah. But,
Let's hope so.
Yeah, I really hope so. I would like to see him as maybe Chewbacca's sidekick if Han Solo does kick it. Yeah.
Chewbacca's son. Come on, man.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
It's all about family, man.
They're dogs, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But no, that actually also Billy Lord is in the movie. Carrie Fisher's daughter, she's on Scream Queens, which I haven't seen, but I hear actually really, really good things about that show. She's in it. She's actually the promo shot that's floating around is of her and this really weird blue droid looking guy, crazy head, who is apparently one of the prominent characters in the novel Moving Target, a Princess Leia story, I think. So
Cool.
I thought that was pretty cool. Any news stories that you had in mind that you saw you want to bring up?
Not in particular, actually. It seemed to have been kind of slow for me. It's been, just sort of a let's wait and see kind of week for me. I did get to check out some news on the comics. Actually, I got to read some of the new comics, and those are coming along pretty nicely. But, as far as news, I didn't get to catch much there. So I think you caught me there on Carrie Fisher. And, well, that's the only one thing I did check out was Carrie Fisher. So.
Oh, okay. Well, there's one thing that you did see, actually, because we talked about it earlier. I showed it to you. Was the J.J. Abrams article
Yes.
from I09 where he talks about his whole process, the way the writing was, how unfortunately Michael Arndt couldn't do the full script. They didn't have the time for him to work his magic. So he was able to convince Lawrence Kasdan and all that. The great thing about that article, while learning sort of the process of how the script and the movie came together, as interesting as that is, what I was interested in mostly was what he said about why they felt they had to scrap the expanded universe. Obviously you're a huge expanded universe guy, as am I. But I think there was some information there that sort of gave the more diehard expanded universe fans a little bit of hope in regards to the idea that they might bring some stuff back in. What do you think about that?
Yes, and that was very, very, very exciting. From everything we had heard throughout all of this whole process that they've been doing, it's been like, boo, expanded universe. It is dead. It's gone, buried. We kicked it in the shit. We buried it and set it on fire and fucking, set a dark curse, and it's just nothing. It's not coming back. And, he kind of gave us a sort of thought that that's not necessarily true. He said they're gonna pull stuff. It's they had to choose what was best for the story, which we all understand. We all know that was a necessary evil, so you can't throw everything in. And we know that, and that's sort of how most of us have made peace with that, is because we know that they couldn't throw everything in.
Yeah.
Thankfully the Killicks and all that crap are not in there. So hey, huzzah! They didn't throw everything in, but I got the sense that some of the very important things, the big, the meaty, juicy pieces of the EU, they're gonna try and work in, and that makes me happy.
I can totally see them trying to work in some kind of Thrawn aspect, just because that's the bit of the expanded universe that I think has the most mainstream recognition. You know what I mean? I mean, sure, we all know, or most expanded universe people in the know, they know that the main characters had kids and moved on and stuff like that. But everybody kind of remembers Thrawn. Even people that aren't necessarily huge EU fans, maybe they are just more casual Star Wars fans, but they've at least picked up a book. They probably picked up Heir to the Jedi, or Heir to the Empire. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully that comes back, and Jackson, the Green Rabbit. Yeah, the Green Rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
But and I think that's probably one of the cornerstones of the EU that they really do have to keep, as well as my personal hope and fervent prayer is the Han and Leia relationship. There's been a lot of debate saying no, but there's been no definitive proof, so there's still that hope that's in there. And on a personal level, I was always a huge Mara Jade fan.
Yeah, me too.
She's great. She was a great character, and her story arc throughout all of the novels really just, it hit home. It was great how she went from evil antagonist to the love of Luke's life, which was just a total freaking mind fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, really? You're getting married?
Yeah, it was a really well written relationship, though. I mean, it was a little stunted, obviously, because it's science fiction in the 90s. You know what I mean? It came out of nowhere, but it was, when they were together, they were written really well. They had a really good relationship.
Yes.
So I really, really hope we see something regarding her. And if they're gonna do Thrawn, I don't know why they wouldn't do her. It's they're hand in hand.
Exactly, they are. They really are. So yeah. So hopefully we'll get the major parts, and they can ditch some of the crappier shit. Like Jason Solo turning into a freaking Sith Lord and all that other nonsense.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. And last little bit of news that I did want to bring up was that today, the 10th of December, we received probably what's going to be the last trailer. Hopefully, the last month we've been bombarded with freaking TV spots, international trailers, commercials, promo videos. I've been avoiding most of them, actually, and I'm not going to watch the one that came out today, but it's available for you. I'll probably find it and throw it on the Facebook group if I can afford to, or if I can risk watching it without actually watching it. And so that's out. So everybody be happy, because the last bit of new footage means that the movie is on its way finally. So actually, speaking of, I know that last week I was talking about I'm not being sure what is canon, what's not canon, especially in the prequel era. Obviously we know the Clone Wars cartoon, the 3D, the Dave Filoni one, the Fantastic one. But a lot of people don't remember that there was a 2D animated one by Genndy Tartakovsky, the guy that created, of course, Dexter's Lab, Symbiotic Titan, which not a lot of people remember, after Samurai Jack, which is another one that he created. Samurai Jack is amazing. It's something that everybody should watch, and we're going to get into a little bit of that in a little bit here. But um, is that Clone Wars stuff canon? Do you know by chance?
I believe it is.
That's
We're
awesome.
gonna have to fact check that, but I'm searching my mind here, and I believe that they included the Clone Wars cartoon as part of the canon. And
That's
if
awesome.
they don't, Gendy should take a freaking M60 and blow them all away because he's so damn brilliant. I
He
love
really
that
is, man.
cartoon. I
Yeah.
mean, his work is just amazing. And
Mace Windu and Kit Fisto were
yeah,
never more badass than they
yeah,
were in that cartoon.
I
Even the
hated Kit Fisto,
yeah.
but he was badass in that cartoon.
Yeah. Plus, also without that cartoon, we would not know that lightsabers work underwater
Yeah,
because of that Kit
very
Fisto
true.
episode.
That's
But
right.
I mean, but like in all seriousness, that Mace Windu episode when he just like takes apart, he just takes all the bolts and screws out of the battle
On that
droids.
planet, yeah, that was
Yeah,
great.
that was freaking amazing. So I'm
Yeah.
really, really glad that that's expanded universe. But also, I'm really glad that we brought that up because Samurai Jack is coming back
Oh
from the
man,
past.
I'm
Yeah,
so excited.
that's gonna be so amazing. I really, really, I'm not just a fan of Genndy Tartakovsky's action stuff. I like the Hotel Transylvania stuff as well. I think he's got really good. He's got like a storyteller's mentality more than a creator's mentality. I don't know if if that's even what I'm trying to say. He reminds me of a Jim Henson. He
Hmm.
reminds me of a Steven Spielberg in the '80s, of a George Lucas in the '80s, in the sense that for him it's about uh, the underlying facets of story as opposed to what's just being shot out at you. And Samurai Jack was a great example of those types of stories.
And well, the beauty of that, and as an amateur animator myself, the beauty of what he does is everything you just said. He uses the visuals to that effect.
Yeah,
You know, every shot, every color, every line in his art, in his animation, has some sort of pertinent telling to the story. You
yeah,
know, the way he uses shadow and light and you know mood and tone. He takes every element of a proper story. If you sat there and you wrote down what is a proper story, what is a proper animation, he takes every element of that and throws it and makes it just gorgeous.
yeah.
I can't say enough great things about him.
No, I mean he comes from the old school, or at least he's a big fan of the older school. I mean he was
Yeah.
around, I believe, in the '80s. He worked on like Two Stupid Dogs. He worked on a lot of Hanna-Barbera stuff, you know, the early cartoon stuff from Cartoon Network. But he is the hugest Popeye fan. And
Mm.
actually, before he started work on not Dark Crystal, well, he was gonna actually do the Dark Crystal sequel. That unfortunately fell off. Like I
Did
said, he reminds
not
me
know
of
that.
he reminds me of a Jim Henson. Him working with the Henson Company would have been amazing, especially for something
Yeah.
that has the potential of Dark Crystal. I mean, granted, it's a classic, it's awesome, but I think Gendy doing something like the Dark Crystal would have been really impactful and really deep.
That would
Um,
have been amazing.
yeah, but he before he did Hotel Transylvania, I believe he did a short for a 3D CG Popeye movie, which he's a huge fan of, and it wasn't gonna be like these fucking Chipmunks movies or these Smurfs movies. It was gonna be Gendy Tartakovsky doing a classic like 40s or 30s style Popeye cartoon. And there's
Huh.
a short that you can find online, I believe. It's on YouTube somewhere. I'll throw that on the Facebook group as well. That's really, really cool, really funny, and really charming. And unfortunately, that also fell through, and he ended up doing Hotel Transylvania, which again, those are great. But I'm just glad that he's back for Samurai Jack. They're doing another season coming out next
Yes.
year. And what's cool about it is that it's going to be on Adult Swim. It's not going to be
Oh.
on it's obviously it's a channel Cartoon Network, but it's not going to be like an afternoon or a Saturday morning cartoon. It's going to be an Adult Swim cartoon. So I don't know if maybe it's going to be one of those 15-minute long cartoons or if it's going to be a full half hour. But you know, the 22-minute episodes that he did, you know, for seasons 1 through 4, which I own them. I love Samurai Jack, always have. Um, it's going to be amazing. You know, I'm really hoping that they don't try to innovate too much, that they don't try to, you know, modernize it. I hope that they keep the gorgeous artwork, the stylized backgrounds and character designs, and the minimal dialogue, and just sort of let it be all visual and cinematic. That's what I'm really hoping for out of this.
I agree, and I'm a huge fan, unfortunately, of artists kind of keeping what they're doing. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
And so many great artists freaking suffer for their downfall because they try to innovate too much.
yeah,
And this is a prime example right here. What needs to be seen is the classic, the beauty of what we saw before.
yeah,
And don't get me wrong, if you've got something new, a new trick up your sleeve and it works, hey, toss it in, but keep those basic elements the way they were.
yeah.
You know,
I mean, that's what makes it something that people want to have return. You know what I mean? I mean,
absolutely.
you're absolutely right. If you have something new, sure, toss it in, but don't make that new gimmick or that new trick the crux of what you're going to be doing. Because
Right.
at that point, you might as well just be doing something entirely different.
Yeah, I
You know what I
agree.
mean? Yeah. So, which is funny because that's going to sort of work into a discussion we're going to have a little
Perfect.
later on. But and I think that might put it in your favor, but whatever.
It also segues into our next topic as well, so
Yeah.
this is kind of very fluid.
Yeah.
As far as change, although it's the exact opposite of my philosophy,
Yeah.
but I'm going to be a hypocrite on this one. And that's the Final Fantasy VII remake that's coming out. Oh
Yes.
my God.
Black Label original. Yes.
I have it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
I'm so excited for that, man. I'm so stoked.
I am too. I remember the day it was released, 1995,
Seven.
seven.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Nah,
it's been a while.
yeah.
Yeah,
You're old.
old age.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I remember the day it was released. I remember going to the store and buying it, and I remember sitting in this dark little room for 36 hours. And I'm not kidding.
Wow.
I mean, literally 3 days I sat in this room while my girlfriend was like sleeping and going to work. And you know how, sometimes you have that fast speed of life happening all around you while you're just
Yeah.
kind of doing slow-mo.
I missed that.
That was what was happening to me. I played that game so much for 3 days straight. And I've replayed it several times. I
Yeah.
mean, I have a PlayStation emulator on my phone, and when the best time to play games on your phone is, well, I actually went through that entire game doing that.
so, so,
Yeah.
so how long did it take you to beat the game if it was just those sessions? Did you
Uh,
extend those
oh,
sessions?
that? Yeah, it took months. Come on.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I
okay.
didn't cheat.
Funny.
9 times out of 10, I'm at work, so you only have X amount of time.
I
But
got
yeah, it took quite a while to go through 3 discs.
Yeah.
That method. But
No, yeah, I remember. I remember when it came out. I didn't have a PlayStation yet. I
yeah,
didn't get a PlayStation until probably early '98. I think I got it for like Christmas '97 ish,
yeah.
or like January, February '98, because I think it was one of our poor Christmases, and my mom, she hooked me up a couple months later, and that was no, I remember what it was. I got it late '97 from a pawn shop. I got the PlayStation for Christmas. She got me a second controller. It was the dual analog, and she got me Final Fantasy VII. And yeah, man, I just remember that I have a lot of good memories of that game because that's one of the few games. Well, it's not one of the few games. It's probably the only game that I remember playing with my sister. My sister, like, we didn't play it together, but she had my first nephew, and I think it was around summertime, or I was just spending a lot of time at home. I wasn't going to school because I was a delinquent. But we hung out, and I would just go help her take care of my nephew. We'd just be hanging out all day, and I'd just be playing the game the whole day, and she's just sitting there with my nephew, just watching me play. And so that was a really unique kind of bonding experience that we had, something that I've never had with anybody else, or that we've never done again. But every time I think of Final Fantasy VII, not only do I think of the great game, the great gameplay, the graphics, the story, and all that, but also it does remind me of like hanging out with my sister a lot too. So that's pretty cool.
Nice. Nice.
Again, I've also played it a million times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have one save file on one of my PS3s, my busted up broken PS3. For the longest time, I found this. I sold all my PlayStation stuff like an idiot when I was in high school, and so about 4 years ago, I found this for 99 cents at a Goodwill.
Wow.
99 cents, missing disc one.
Ah,
So,
I'm missing disc 2.
oh really?
Yeah.
I might actually have an extra disc too because I was
Sweet.
I was able to get
Excellent.
disc 1 from another copy. I believe I actually have this twice now.
Sweet.
From the missing disc 1, so might be able to hook you up there.
Sweet,
But
yeah.
I hadn't been able to play it. Like I said, I played it on a PS3 file a while back. I don't even remember. Oh, I'd borrowed disc 1 from somebody. I had to give it back, so I wasn't able to complete it, and then PlayStation broke. So I just recently got that disc 1. I'm gonna start playing it soon.
Nice.
I'm gonna squeeze it in somehow, but I want to get ready for the remake. I like that the remake's going to be episodic. That's going to be that's going to make it a lot easier for people like us to get in some game time with it.
Yes, and for those who don't know, maybe we should do a little background on Final Fantasy VII. Personally, my favorite Final Fantasy of them all, bar none. I play Final Fantasy XIV, the MMO online, and it's great and all, but nothing beats the nostalgia of that one. And it's basically the story of a young, spiky-haired man named Cloud Strife who goes through all kinds of weird crap. He starts off as a mercenary for a group named Avalanche, who's trying to save the world from an evil corporation called Shinra.
And you have to point out, he doesn't want any of this shit. He doesn't even want to work with Avalanche. He's a depressed mofo. Like this guy, he's really, really stoked about some weird crap that happened to him in his past.
Yeah, and he was the poster boy for really needing some antidepressants back in the 90s. When antidepressants were first coming out, because the guy's got some serious issues.
Yeah.
But yeah, he didn't really, it was a paycheck. It was a job. He needed the cash. So, he goes on this mission to destroy a Mako reactor, and he gets swept up into this huge world. He meets Barrett, the gun-toting, asshole that, always has something angry to say. And then, they get separated and he meets Well, okay, there's two different ways of pronouncing this, Aerith or Eris.
Yeah, I think they're going with Aerith now for the remake.
Are they?
Yeah, it's been that way since that Advent Children movie came out. It's the official way to say it now. But I still say Aerith because I played it in the 90s.
That's right.
So
yeah. So he hooks up with Eris, who is this awesome chick, right? And, total white mage type girl. And they end up having some adventures, and he hooks back up with Barrett and all of them and ends up going, okay, I'll help out.
Yeah.
So, he goes through these misadventures, and they end up, finding out that this dude named Sephiroth, is this, monster evil bad guy, and he worked with him in Soldier. But did he work with him in Soldier? That's the big question. Exactly. Because he's having these weird memory fuck-ups, and, where he's kind of remembering some other life, and it's starting to kind of mix and intertwine with, his reality. So he's going through these adventures, having these weird delusional hallucinations while they chase this monstrous asshole named Sephiroth. Right? And it all kind of starts to come to a head where we find out that Sephiroth is actually the progeny of this ancient being called Genova, and he was sort of created to bring about the end of the world and shit like that. So, he's sort of like this dark messiah, and Cloud and all of them are like, fuck, man. And it gets bad. It gets really, really bad,
And it's just like any great Final Fantasy story where it starts off with a drama that's this big, and that drama just gets engulfed by a bigger drama and a bigger drama, and it becomes so almost, it's incredibly melodramatic. It's incredibly melodramatic. It's one of the freaking draws of it. It's so
melodramatic.
Yeah, it's so melodramatic.
It's dark in 90s, man. Very 90s. Yeah.
And it's a Final Fantasy. It's the first Final Fantasy that was ever shown, or that was ever created in 3D. Mm-hmm. But if you played the couple games that we got in America before then, it was just as epic and just as sweeping. And it's also got the whole tone of it is really ambiguous. The ending is kind of hopeful. If you wait till after the credits, you kind of do get a hopeful ending. But just the idea of who Cloud really is, how he relates to Sephiroth, how Sephiroth relates to Genova, what Genova is, where she came from, it's fucking amazing. It's really, really deep, and I'm surprised that it hasn't been mined further for Western media consumption. The Japanese have always done a really good job of making other games. They made the movie Advent Children and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I'm surprised there's never like an American TV show adaptation or something,
I'm surprised too, because it's an epic story, and I always thought that it would make. I've always been waiting for more. I mean, I sat there and waited for sequels, TV shows, anime, whatever, and I wasn't, too happy with Dirge of Cerberus, and that was kind of like, meh.
Crisis 4
And
was really bad.
yeah, nothing really kind of floated my boat there, and I'm like, they're really wasting this gold mine. And Advent Children was okay, I was like, all right, that's cool, that's a decent little movie, but it was just a kind of one-off sort of fire thing, there
Yeah.
was nothing else to it, so it left you like, okay, well, I guess that's it. And I've always wanted a sequel or an MMO. God, I would just die for an MMO. I would in that
An
world.
MMO set like in Midgard, like or
Hell
in that,
yeah,
that would
that
be
whole
cool. That
world,
would be really cool.
because
I'd
it's very
probably
steampunk.
Yeah, it's very steampunk. I like that because it was the first like futuristic Final Fantasy. They
Yeah.
were all very steampunk before, very fantasy based. And this
Yeah.
one was it was sort of the transitioning between like 6, which was total fantasy, and 8, which was super futuristic, hyper technology. So this was a really good mashup of those two, and I like that what they're doing with the remake. Like we said, they're making it episodic, so it's going to be easier to not just play, but also easier to purchase. It's going to be easier to on time. But I like the advances that they're doing in terms of like the fighting system. I being a diehard old school RPG fan, I love turn-based battles. I really do. Beyond the Beyond, the older Final Fantasies, things like that. I love the turn-based battle system. But I also like that you're going to be able to run around in this 3D environment. I mean, what's the point of having this gorgeous, gorgeous high-def 3D environment if you're not able to explore it? And doing that while you're fighting and battling, that's just going to be amazing. That's going to be awesome. Yeah.
And you're right, man. I loved the active time battle. That was a great system. It worked perfectly, and it even evolved a little bit more when you got into Knights of the Old Republic or KOTOR. Knights of the Old Republic from BioWare and a few other games. They really took it to that next level. But Square Enix, they revolutionized it and made it what it was at that time. And but I agree. The world is too freaking gorgeous to be stuck in that, the pull down sort of, single square kind of thing. Anymore, you pretty much have to have real time battles. You pretty much have to be able to see what's coming at you. Random encounters just don't work for games these days. And it's a remake, and the beauty, but you have to change something. And
because it would be great if it was just a graphic upgrade. I mean, I remember still being in high school back in like 2000, 2001 when the PlayStation 2 was announced, right before it came out. There were rumors back then of a high def Final Fantasy remake, Final Fantasy VII remake. Never came to fruition. I mean, it was a huge announcement. It was a huge thing. Kind of broke the internet when this was announced. Yeah. But if it was just a high def remake, like an upgrade on the graphics, we got that with Final Fantasy X and X-2. I don't know, this is something special. This brought Final Fantasy to America, to the mainstream. And it's good that they're doing something better. They're doing something, they're upgrading the engines on it, you know what I mean? I like the newer, the idea that it's not going to be the exact same game. I like the idea.
And I do too. 10 and 10-2 didn't really do much for me because I'd played 10, ad nauseum, and just seeing it a little bit better, but everything's the same was kind of meh. I didn't really feel like it was something that I should have really invested in. And this, that they're changing it and making it something more evolved than what it was, means the world. And I'm praying that I don't, come back and eat my words after playing it for a little while and go, oh, this sucks. But I have a feeling I won't. This is one of the few instances where I will actually give a thumbs up for a remake because I hate remakes. And, I'm endorsing this one.
Cool.
So hopefully it doesn't come back to bite me in the ass.
Again,
I know.
There seems to be a theme going on with this.
We're flowing today.
Yeah. And cool, then we can definitely get into the big fat topic that we want to talk about. First and foremost, we'll talk about the remakes and the reboots and ideas on that later. First, I just want to gush. Ninja Turtles 2, the trailer dropped earlier today. It is Bay Turtles, yes, I will give you that. And the first movie was not necessarily one of my favorite movies ever made. But I'm going to let you know a little bit of something about Ninja Turtles fans and the fandom. I'm a pretty diehard Ninja Turtle fan. I'm not a pretty diehard Ninja Turtle fan. I am an extreme Ninja Turtles fan.
You're sick.
I am sick. If I could do a 360 pan, I have a lot of Ninja Turtle shit surrounding me. More than Star Wars. I mean, more than Star Wars. I am a Ninja Turtles guy, which is weird to say, because I didn't really get into the Turtles. I loved them as a kid, as many kids did. I watched the show. I was a Ninja Turtle freak as a kid. But I really, really got into the Turtles during my teens. There was a random book sale at at Central Park Mall before, when it was still there. There was a random book sale, and for $3, there were the gigantic first graphic novel trade paperbacks. They were the first ones that had collected them outside of the Mirage comics. They were thick. They were gorgeously colorized before computer coloring was a thing. I bought them and I was blown away because at that time I had a tiny little book by Jeff Rovin that was that's gonna be in the podcast, just so you know.
Hit that out, asshole.
Fuck, you made me lose my train of thought. This is all going in the podcast, you fucker.
No.
All right, so I had
Go ahead.
this tiny little book. It was called and I'm staring at my camera from now on. I'm not staring at you. It was this unauthorized handbook of Ninja Turtle trivia that had come out like in the early '90s or something. And I had known just from reading through that it was something else. It was the gritty comic that we all hear about now. But this was my first time. I was 15 years old. I bought these. And this is my first time checking it out. I was like, holy shit, this is really, really good. This is like legit, mainstream adult kind of comic stuff. So I bought those, and at that point, I didn't remember the cartoon that much. I remember really liking it. I remember really loving the toys. But I didn't get back into the cartoon until my early 20s when the season started coming out on DVD. I was able to pick those up. And having been invested for about 7, 8 years at that point in the Mirage series and collecting all the old comics, it was a little bit of a shock as to sort of how cartoony and how honestly cheesy and badly animated and low quality the 80s animated series was.
Yeah.
So I'm almost a fan more of, or I should say I'm a less of a fan of the cartoon. So when it was announced that they were going to be doing the new movie produced by Michael Bay, immediately that just puts fear into a nerd's heart. I mean, as cliche as it is, I'm always one that's all about execution over expectation kind of thing. But I mean, Transformers, those movies those are just bad movies. Those are like prequel era Star Wars bad movies. Attack of the Clones era bad.
Yeah.
But I held hope because I've been through some bad Ninja Turtles before. I've been through the shitty games that came out for the 2003 series. That series is great though. I remember living through the fucking Next Mutation. Despite the fact that they crossed over with the Power Rangers, it didn't matter because those Power Rangers weren't my Power Rangers. That was the beginning of the end for my Power Rangers love. So it was just I've been through some shit with the Ninja Turtles and a lot of us as fans in that fandom sort of have had to deal with that. And knowing that this was going to be what it was, we had to brace ourselves so much to take what this was going to be. And in the end, it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as everybody thought it was going to be. The one thing that really saved this movie, I think, was the fact that they got the core characters right. They got their friendship, they got that brotherhood, and they got their attitudes right. And no matter what you do, as long as those characters are solid, you can do whatever you want around them, and it's still going to feel like a Turtles thing. That's kind of what they've always been. The Turtles can be in space, they can be in the past, they can be on an alien planet. They can there's episodes that are just set in in the future when they're old and Michelangelo's become a writer. There's different interpretations of them. There's more realistic versions in the comic. There's so as long as you have that core element of who they are, then it's really not that bad. And as much as this movie is really, really, really hated, it's not bad. And when I saw the trailer for part 2 last night, I was pretty happy because, yeah, it's still the Bay Turtles. They took into account some of the fan stuff, but they're going for what the fans at large want, which is the cartoon from the 80s. They got Bebop and Rocksteady. They look amazing. You got Baxter Stockman. He's giddy. He's doing his little Baxter Stockman dance and clapping hands thing. It is Tyler Perry, so I'm not gonna be able to keep from calling him Baxter Medea, but you know. Did you watch the trailer?
Yeah, I did. And it looks pretty dang. Well, I got to throw in my 2 cents here, but I have a question for you first.
Mhm.
Something that kind of just floated into the transium of my mind. You know, you were saying as long as the core characters, the core attitude is there. Now, I will be the first to admit, not the biggest turtle. I'm not the fan of the turtles that you are.
Right.
I've done it all though. I read the comics. I saw the show when I was a kid. I've absorbed all of the media, but hadn't. I didn't get into it as much. But one thing I've noticed through all of it, and I wonder, is it the trope that is actually part of what is making it bad, though? Certain things that you just don't escape from. Yeah, their core personalities are there, and a lot of the core things are there, but then there's certain things that are perpetuated through every iteration of the Turtles. And you kind of start to go, oh, this again. My prime example, and I know you know it, is the bitter rivalry between Raph and Leo. At every single time, it's got
Yeah.
to be a point, you know.
No, I agree with you there because that's that I would more of a trope of the franchise, or that's
It,
a tradition of the franchise, as
yeah.
opposed to just who the characters are. You know what I mean? And I don't, and
Okay.
I mean like who their personalities are, the way they relate. Because I mean, yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
every movie there's that Rap Leo fucking friction. Which yes, even to me, the hardcore fans, it's like really again we got to go through this. So no, I
Yeah.
agree with you 100% on that. But that's
Okay.
more sort of like it's not a Star Wars movie without them saying I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I
I
mean? As
guess.
opposed to who the personalities of the characters are. So that is a little tiring. Yeah, I'm tired of them fighting the Shredder. I
Yeah.
am tired of uh well no, I mean that's really it. There hasn't been enough big mainstream media, for me to complain about.
Yeah.
That's like I said, the season 3 show was great. That this current Nickelodeon show is amazing.
Yeah.
But no, I totally get what you're saying about that. I think that the Turtles are one of the few franchises actually that, because of the personality, because of the core of the characters, they can pretty much survive any kind of reboot, remake, any kind of hiccup, any
Very
kind of
true.
misstep. You know what I mean?
And
Um,
I agree with you. I agree with you.
yeah, it's not like I mean, no matter what uh, Batman you get, you still get the death of his parents.
Yeah.
And then
Which.
he's either Adam West Batman, he's Frank Miller Batman, Christopher Nolan Batman, but that's a different character personality. These
Right.
guys,
Right.
it's sort of the opposite, where they're always the same characters. It's just everything else around them that's kind of different.
Right, and I agree, and hopefully, I'm really kind of hoping that now that they're actually getting into sequels with this, the trope will kind of start to go away a little bit, and we can move, onto the Technodrome and the cool shit. And fucking,
Yeah,
I was so happy to see Bebop and Rocksteady, man.
how
You have
fucking cool
no
is that,
idea.
man?
I was
Oh,
like, finally, this is
yes.
it right here.
And
That was
like they
awesome.
got them exactly right. Like I was so
Yes.
stoked by how accurate they were to the '80s cartoon, like
Oh my God. Yeah.
design aesthetic. Like like
Yeah.
Bebop's got the stupid glasses that nobody can
Uh-huh.
really see through. You know what I mean? Rocksteady has the same exact hair that he has in the first episode of the first
Hmm.
season.
That was
Um,
awesome.
yeah, it was really good. I'm glad that they are going towards the '80s because it's like it feels like they weren't sure what they wanted to do with the first movie.
Yeah.
They were trying to go their own way, but also try to hold true to the fans. But also, it was a Michael Bay movie, so it was like a big mess. The whole whitewashing of the Shredder, making him Eric Sachs instead of Alukusaki,
Yeah.
that made the fandom just freak the fuck out. And they actually
Yeah.
took, they kind of like, oh shit, okay, let's fix that. They did some reshoots, which just made
Yeah.
the pacing of the movie horrible. But I think that they learned from that in this one. And while it's still a Michael Bay mess, more than likely, they're sticking to a little bit more. Not I don't want to say fan service, but they're sticking to a little bit more of the core of what the fans know and love about the Turtles.
Yeah.
So that's really good.
Now,
Um, no, go
one
ahead.
thing I saw, and I didn't really, that was Stephen Amell, wasn't it?
That was Stephen Amell. Yeah, I'm
I
not
didn't like
digging
it.
it. Not
Yeah,
digging
neither
it.
did I.
No,
And
he just looks like a
I
dude
love
in.
Stephen Amell.
Yeah,
I love Arrow. I love everything about that. He's great. I think, in my opinion, he's great. wasn't feeling him as Casey Jones.
He
Not in
just
the
looks like
least.
a dude. He just looks like a
Yeah.
dude with a mask.
Yeah.
Like, even in the current cartoon where it's I believe it's Josh Peck playing him, doing the voice, like the character
Really?
that they had. Yeah, he does a fantastic job. But the even though Casey's a teenager, he's kind of like a punk hip hop kind of kid. So already, that's right up my alley. He's a graffiti artist. He's kind of a bonehead. I could totally see him being the younger version of Elias Koteas' character from the first movie. From the
And that's what
original
I
Michael.
thought. I
Yeah.
wanted to see somebody like that. I wanted to see, the first movie, Casey Jones. I just did not feel Stephen Amell. And then, which is sad because most of their casting choices I was pretty okay with. Will Arnett, I love him. I'm glad
Yeah.
they put him in it.
I really do like that. That's
Yeah.
a little controversial with the fandom as well, but I think
I
that's
know he's
great.
kind of a
I
douche,
think
but
he's awesome.
or
I
kind
love
of a
him.
dork.
Yeah.
But yeah, and even Megan Fox, I can forgive and accept, because it's all right, whatever.
No.
I know you might.
That's the one. No, that's like Tyler Perry's fucking weird as Baxter Stockman. You know
But
what
you're
I mean?
okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. At least he's black. You know what I mean? Like at least they didn't freaking
No redhead.
pull that
But that's
shit.
yeah, it's the same as Mary Jane from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You
He's
didn't
a
get what you
redhead in the-
wanted. Or I'm sorry, not even Mary Jane, but Jean Grey. That's more of my big gripe. You don't get what you want. I thought Jean Grey should have been attractive, but what are you gonna do? Get Famke Jensen.
But I think
Whatever.
Famke Jensen's freaking hot, but
Whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Not I.
But no, like even Tyler Perry, who has all the baggage, and again, just like we were talking about Batflick last week, except that I don't believe that Tyler Perry is a good actor, so this is an honest opinion. It's like I can deal with that. Megan Fox is April O'Neil. That should not have happened, man. That just and
I was okay with it because who else? I just
Anna
there's-
Kendrick. Anna Kendrick was like the number one like fan.
Yeah.
Anna Kendrick. Is that her name? Emily Olsen, the third Olsen twin, Scarlet Witch. Emma Olsen.
Oh yeah.
Or
Okay.
she was another one they could have tossed in, or they could have just found an unknown. But freaking Megan Fox, it's like of course it's gonna be Megan Fox. And that was one of the fucking signs of like, oh, this is gonna be that kind of movie. Fuck. Now we have a year and a half of waiting till this piece of shit comes out, and we as fans have to deal with that.
I don't know.
And
I was all right with it.
That whole time waiting for the movie to come out was fucking hell, though, man. I speak as though me being a fan is something that I have to do. It's obligatory. But I go. There's this website, the Technodrome, and they're all gonna hate me for talking about them at all. But I was a member. I am currently. I mean, I still go there every couple months just to see what's going on. But that place is Mos Eisley, man. That is a vile pit of scum and villainy. People there, they're the stereotypical internet. Oh, some people are the stereotypical internet grognards that just
Super trolls.
super trolls, just shitty way of communicating with other human beings. And there was this whole pro or okay with the Michael Bay Turtles versus just no, we want nothing to do with Michael Bay Turtles. And the whole argument there was, well, we're getting the Michael Bay Turtles, we might as well make the best of it. Or at least that was my opinion. And it was just internet flame wars, nerd arguments and stuff like that.
Yeah, it happens.
It made me really, really question me being the hardcore fan that I thought I was. And it was really, really bad. There was like to the point where people were like threatening each other's lives and shit like that. It was just really stupid. And it sort of again organically leads into the next thing, which is it's kind of a loaded topic in the sense that there's a bunch of different aspects, a bunch of different viewpoints of it. I know you and I have already, even earlier today, were kind of already on opposite ends of it. But
to put it mildly.
Yeah, I mean, one of these, and I'm not going to say that this is the majority, but again, dealing with those types of trolls or those types of people on the Technodrome forum who sort of feel they have an ownership over a franchise and feel that they should be able to dictate what said franchise is able to produce or what should produce. To me, I don't understand that. I don't understand that. I don't get people who there's a lot of people out there who are, speaking specifically about Ninja Turtles, who are casual fans who feel that because they watched the show in the 80s as a kid and they remember it fondly that they have such a grip over this franchise. When there are people like me who have been in, not to say like, well, I'm a better fan than you are, but I know that there are different facets of the franchise, and there's different things that people are pulling from. So for you to just have this hatred towards something that you really don't understand fully is just silly. It goes to a sense of entitlement that feeds into a lot of other different aspects of the same sort of the same side of this coin, or a different side of the same coin, which is sort of people who have sort of a jump to conclusion perspective in regards to movies and what they're made, in regards to the remakes and reboots that we've been talking about. I feel that it's all about, I think I said it before, execution over expectation. Anything can be good as long as it's as long as it's executed well. I don't get these people who immediately hear of a remake or a reboot being put into production and just immediately just shitting all over it. It's just like, you know what, fuck that. I don't have time for that. You don't have time for that. Nobody's that has a gun to your head to go watch it. You know what I mean? So when it comes to reboots and when it comes to remakes and things like that, sequels, I that might be part of why I'm able to accept the debate turtles a little bit more. Same thing with Star Trek. Same thing with now even Star Wars. I know you brought up earlier Point Break, which had you heard about that going into production? Or had you heard anything about that, or did you just see the trailer?
No, that was the first I saw of it was the trailer.
Like today?
And yeah, and you know, I kind of take sort of the opposite viewpoint in some respects than you do, but that's because I agree with you 110% as far as execution over expectation. You know, it really depends. And I'll tell you right now, remakes are okay. Before I even go into that, I want to say that nobody is right on this
Yeah,
topic.
no, it's
You
all
can't be.
subjective. Yeah.
Because you look at it, and if you want to say that, you know, one person's being a hipster for hating this, then you're being a hipster for hating the hipster hate. So, I mean, it's a domino effect. You know, hate is hate.
Self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
Exactly, it is. It's a fucking it's a vicious circle that you can't get around.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amogus. Nice. But you have to take it instance by instance. And, you know, as far as some franchise, and that's the other thing, you know, if you're a part of a franchise, then you have a much more clean time getting away with a remake than if you're doing something, say, like Total Recall. You know, it was standalone, the original was excellent, and you're going back for no real reason and remaking something that was already fine. You know, it's remaking a standalone, like almost sort of like Fright Night. You know, Fright Night was a great movie. You know,
Fright
I
Night
loved
remake
the
was
original.
amazing. That
Really?
Fright Night remake was good. I
I was
own it on
bored
Blu-ray.
to tears. I
No,
was
man,
bored to
I
tears.
that's one of the few like horror comedies that I own on Blu-ray. I'm not a big horror comedy fan. I'm not a big horror fan, but yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
maybe I'm just more forgiving, I guess. But I mean, it goes to the point that you say that it's instance per instance. That's what and I agree with you on that. That's why I don't understand. That's why maybe we're arguing a different argument, because if we both agree that it's instance per instance, I'm like, then why the blanket hatred for, you know, as soon as you hear a reboot happening, you know what I mean? Or not you specifically. I mean, of course, I'm talking
Right.
about the general you, but like people out there, you know, they immediately they're like, another Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movie. It's like, well, did you see the first one? Because if you hated it this much, you must not have seen it, you know. And it's like, and if they made a sequel, then it made money at the very least, you know. Do you know why, you know, Baxter Stockman's black? Do you know why, you know, this happened, or what the situation is with this? What, you know, no, then you're just hating it because it's a Michael Bay movie, or it doesn't have to be that. It can be, what's another one that people get all butthurt about?
Spider-Man?
Yeah, but that's just because that was
needs to be remade.
yeah, you know what I mean. That was just bad. And again, it's all
Yeah.
subjective. So because I feel like a hypocrite when I'm like, no, the Bay Turtles are good, but the Mark Webb Spider-Mans are horrible. Well, I mean, the Bay
And
Turtles are probably worse written, badly, you know, worsely structured than the Amazing Spider-Man movies. But
Yeah, but there was
you know,
nothing worsely structured than Spider-Man 3. Nothing.
yeah,
Except
and
maybe
that's Sam
X-Men
Raimi.
3.
No, yeah, X-Men 3, that
Yeah.
was fucking horrible as
Any
well.
Marvel Part 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
I don't know, like, what are your real thoughts on movie fatigue, sequel fatigue, reboot fatigue, things like that?
I think it's the stigma of the remake. it automatically gives somebody that, gun, that barrel out of the gun feeling, oh shit, here we go again. And there, no matter what, there is a stigma of a remake, and you can't really deny that because it's a part of our society. Oh God, here we go again, another remake. Even Michael Bay Turtles, everything. Most people are actually self-aware and self-conscious enough to go be like, okay, I'm gonna give this a shot, before I make my decision. And 99.9% of the time,
been on the internet. Have you been on the internet?
What's the internet?
I think that's like 0.09% of the people are the ones on the internet that are saying.
All right. Well, for us enlightened, self-aware people, we tend to give shit a shot before going, oh fuck, here we go, this is gonna suck. But then there's these times that you're like, you have two polar opposites. Either you're messing with a classic, and that's a dangerous situation, or you're rebooting garbage, and that's a dangerous situation. Good example, RoboCop. You're messing with a classic.
Fuck, man.
Dangerous.
Every example you're bringing up, I don't own RoboCop. I haven't liked it enough to buy it, but I thought that was an alright movie. For a PG-13
Did you like Total Recall?
No, I did not like Total Recall.
Okay.
I watched it, and
there's hope for you yet.
Yeah.
Okay. But, no, okay, well, and RoboCop's sort of a soft example because I kind of tolerated it. It was all right. But, it's part of that extreme. Either A, you're messing with something that was held up to a really high standard, and not only are you messing with it, but with RoboCop, you really softened it big time.
Yeah.
It did not have any of the edge that the original RoboCop had. It was the Disney kiddie version of RoboCop. And that was just like, ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
So, you messed with the classic, but then there's that other extreme where you're taking garbage and remaking garbage. And that's kind of my theory on Point Break, but probably because I wasn't a huge fan of the original, not a Keanu Reeves fan at that time, and not a Patrick Swayze fan at that time either. So, as a matter of fact,
I don't give a shit about Point Break, to be honest.
Yeah.
It does look cool. It's just the stunts and stuff.
And that's a good, healthy attitude to have. Okay, well, this looks kind of cool. But to me, and that's kind of the knee-jerk reaction, I would still give it a chance. I'd still watch it, because I'm the kind of person that will give it a chance and watch it, but my initial thought is, fuck, they're doing it. They're remaking this crap. And I'm trying to think of another example of a remake where it's garbage to garbage, and I know it's out there because, oh, no, actually, I would take Evil Dead, which is actually good, to,
Oh, the new Evil Dead, the one with the chick Ashley.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I liked it. I mean, it was gore porn, but I mean, it was done stylistically, and it wasn't an Eli Roth flick. You know what I mean? There was a little bit of depth to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then there you go. Is it necessary? You're taking something great and you're just kind of putting a polish on it and going, okay, well, here's something else sort of like it. I don't know. I just don't find it necessary.
That's a different argument. That's a different argument. If it's necessary or not. If it's necessary or not, it is different than whether it's going to suck or not. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
No, I don't believe that Evil Dead was necessary. However, the fact that it was unnecessary, but it still came out pretty cool, that's kind of a bonus. It's just a fucking cherry on top. You know what I mean? That's why I don't get when people bitch about that type of situation. Like, yeah, I can totally understand a Spider-Man fucking reboot, another Spider-Man reboot, or another Batman reboot, or I can understand, even let's go old school, like that shitty Mod Squad movie that came back out.
Oh, there you go.
90s,
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that is.
I was looking for garbage to garbage. There you go.
Yeah, and it's like that. Why? What? Why? No, fuck that. But that was a couple $1 million wasted. But had that been a really cool movie, we'd all be singing a different tune.
Very true.
It really comes down to just execution. I know that we both agree on that.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
What frustrates me is just the fucking internet, man. I think that's what it is.
Well, yeah. But I don't know. I see the validity of some of their bitches. Like, if you take a Nightmare on Elm Street, come on.
Never saw the remake. That didn't interest me in the least.
It was just, for me, the remake was a couple hours of, okay, that's all right. It's a movie and people died and whatever, but you're not Robert Englund. I love you, Jackie Earle Haley, but
What about Halloween, though? The Rob Zombie.
Oh, man, that is such a hard answer. Because that's good
that,
to good. That was
yeah,
good to good. That's hard. That's
but
tough.
it was unnecessary.
It was.
You know what I mean? I mean, that
It
was
was.
really well done. I mean, it amplified all the good stuff. It did away with what little bad stuff there was, and everything that it added was top notch.
Yeah, no,
You
you're
know?
right. But then again, if you want to take that argument, we can say all of the remakes are really unnecessary. There's no, especially if it's good to good or good to bad, it's not necessary because you've got good.
Yeah, but then if you go down that fucking line of thinking, nothing is necessary. Everything is a sham. We're here for nothing. You know what I mean? Like,
There is no spoon, man.
yeah, man.
We
So, I
don't
mean,
exist.
So we
We're
have to,
just
our argument, or our it has to be predicated on the idea that something is necessary. We want
originality is necessary, and that's the problem here. There is no more originality, and that's that's what we were talking about earlier. You know, originality is pretty much out the door. We can't think of anything that hasn't been based upon something else, or floated upon something else, or is something else.
Yeah.
You know,
at least in the mainstream, big budget, big movie studio stuff, because there's a ton of, I mean, obviously, of course, we can get into the whole talk about indie comics, movies, whatever.
Yeah,
but, I mean,
and that's a totally different animal.
It really is, except for the fact that nowadays, because people like us who grew up in the 80s and 90s dealt with all the shit that we had to deal with, grew up and realized that, hey, we don't have to deal with shit. We don't have to put out shit. There are still Michael Bay movies, but there's also, the guys that made, or the guy that made Monsters, that's now directing Episode 8,
Right.
You're able to pick from these lesser known more indie-ish type people, and those are coming up, and they're being put on a pedestal, they're being given money. It's just because of the amount of money that they're being given, it's still a little risk, so it's not as bad as it used to be, but at least now, there is a little bit more options. There's a little bit more originality being put out there, at the very least. You know what I mean?
And that's the beauty of the internet now is, everybody's an artist at this point. Everybody can do whatever. In the comic books world, believe me, there's billions of comics out there, hundreds of thousands of people. And I've read some of the greatest shit that I've ever seen, not done by Marvel, DC, IDW, Image, not even touched, and probably will never be touched by a big major label. It's just some dude, sitting around drawing some comics and putting them up on these sites.
Yeah, like webcomics. There's this one that called the Abaddon, man. You should really check it out.
Okay.
It's years ago. I don't even know if he still does it. It's been years since I read it, but just throwing that out there for you.
Oh, yeah. And believe me, and I'd like to say that I'm somewhat decent, and, I'm putting out some pretty okay stuff nowadays. So, you don't have to belong to these major companies, and there's indie people that are getting huge backings, through Kickstarters and things like that, and they're making their nut just by fucking donation, and they're doing a beautiful living. So and
that speaks to their originality. That speaks to their to the shit that they can put out that people will actually enjoy.
We don't have to follow Big Brother anymore. We don't have to listen to we have to do Hollywood, Marvel, DC, Sony Records, Columbia, all the major people that, are pretty much spewing out this regurgitated corporate crap. It doesn't have to, we don't have to take it. We can go off and we can do other things and we can enjoy other things now. Yeah. So, that's the flip side to it. So, we have these remakes, we have this lack of originality, but we have options.
Exactly, and that's actually where I was going with that as well. It's
nice.
Like, there's all these reboots, but there's always originality somewhere. You just got to look for it. And if you're entitled enough, or if you're privileged enough, if you want to look at it, cup half full. If you're privileged enough to be able to complain about what you're being given, then you should also be well enough or be able to look for what you want. You know what I mean? Nobody's holding a gun to your head to watch anything. So if you're complaining about what you're watching, then it's kind of your own fault. Look for something original.
Absolutely.
There's plenty of gorgeous originality out there.
Absolutely.
Cool. So I think that ended rather well, that discussion. I was really thinking I was going to have to rage on a motherfucker, you know what I mean? But that was really well done.
We actually, came to some kind of crazy consensus. I like that.
Yeah. We totally agreed while disagreeing.
Right. We took potential vitriol and, turned it into harmonious joy. So thank you, us.
Yeah. Yub nub, celebrate the love.
Sweet.
All right. So this is something that we haven't done. I don't know. Did we? I think we did this on the second one. So this is the fourth one, the fourth episode. So maybe we'll do that every other episode. We'll dip into the social medias, and you guys can ask a nerd.
Yes.
So
ask a nerd.
did you have? I have the questions pulled up. I don't know if you had any questions pulled up or anything.
I didn't, so you can,
okay.
You can fire away.
Okay, cool. So of course the Facebook group is it's. I've said it every single time that we've done this. It's a really, really cool place to I guess hang out. I don't want to make it sound too like I'm shucking and jiving here for it, but it is really cool. We have a lot of really cool people that that participate on a daily basis, and they also sometimes ask us questions. And so we have those questions. We save them. We make sure to keep them on hand so that we can answer them with our crazy nerdy knowledge and our inflated egos. We're fucking doing a podcast. So,
yeah, exactly. So we'll throw out some insane theories to your awesome questions.
Here we go. Actually, I remember I had titled this little section in my notes "Questions from Beyond." So I don't know. The first episode we asked you to name the Star Wars roundup. You guys didn't respond. So now you have an option. Do you want to do Ask a Nerd or do you want to do Questions from Beyond? Let us know on the Facebook group. That was really, really hosty. But right now.
Or leave a comment on the YouTube channel, because we have YouTube subscribers too. We should really pander to that as well.
We have
Since
like
we're pandering.
3 Twitter subscribers. Sid, your question's one of these. So yeah, he followed us on Twitter and Instagram, I believe. So Sid, nice. your question is actually first. Cool. Millennium Falcon versus the USS Enterprise. Space Chicken. Who would win? Yeah.
That's too easy.
Well,
man.
Okay. Well, what's your take on it? Because my take might be different.
I know what you're gonna. I'm curious about you, but yeah, gonna have to go with the Enterprise.
Is way faster than light speed or hyperspace travel. So
yeah, we've got photon torpedoes over photon torpedoes over proton torpedoes and phasers and whole shit ton of armaments and shields. The Falcon's got deflectors, but no actual energy shields. So. That would probably play a major role, and that depends on which Enterprise.
No, literally, I read it verbatim, and also I was thinking, it's Space Chicken, right? I for some reason the whole time we had this question, I've been thinking it was like who's faster, like a race, but no, I forgot it's chicken. So yeah, it's like who would fucking outlast or who would beat up the other.
Ouch, man. Yeah, unfortunately, the Falcon would crumble and crush into the Enterprise's shields. I don't think the Enterprise would even have a scratch on it. It wouldn't even touch. I think that the shields, I don't know how far from the actual hull of the ship it is. Sadly, I do know. It's a bubble. It's a big shield bubble, so yeah.
It'd be kind of like, I guess, to put it in a more widely known way is it would be like the fucking the little missiles shooting at the big giant UFO in Independence Day, where it's sort of where it doesn't even fucking touch it. It's just so there you go. Yeah. So Sid, I know you love The Next Generation, which is cool, but I also know you love Star Wars. I want to say we've had this discussion. I think you're more of a Trek fan, so there you go. Your ship wins. If I'm wrong, crucify me.
Congratulations.
All right. Yeah. And let's see. Next one is going to be from Sid and I's friend, who I believe we actually answered one of his questions in the previous one. He put, if Data from Star Trek got bitten by a zombie, but he's a robot that has human flesh, I think he'd be rotting. Do we think he would be rotting like a zombie, or would it have no effect on him? I'm also going to leave this one up to you because you're the Trek guy.
Wow. This is my night to shine, huh? Data doesn't. Is this if he has flesh or because he has flesh? Let's double check that.
It doesn't say. I mean, I figured it was left up to what. Do we know if Data has human flesh over?
He does not. He did for a short time. Okay, this is how it works. This is how it breaks down. Data did not have flesh for a very, very, very long time. He's got some sort of synthetic polymer, blah, 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 blah. He's explained it a million times, but no flesh, right? And that was through 7, 8, about 9, 10 years of being a crew member on the Enterprise. Well, then come along the movie First Contact with the Borg. He is actually given flesh by the Borg Queen.
That's right. Yeah. Because he has the weird face, like half of his face is flesh and half is white, right? That's right. Okay.
Right. But at the end of the movie, all of his flesh is basically burned off because he destroys the gas in the engine room that kills organic matter. I can't remember what the gas is, so I'm not that huge of a nerd. But yeah, he destroys the tank full of that coolant. It's this coolant, which destroys organic matter. So the Borg Queen dies because all of her organic parts are taken off, and he loses all of that flesh. And Picard only survives because he climbs up the snake-like conduits and survives. And then the gas is vented out. So after that, he never has flesh again. So Data has no human flesh. So if he were bitten by a zombie, he'd be like,
well, let's just to satisfy the other side of the question. Let's say he had that flesh from the Borg. You know, it's an Elseworld. Mr. Mxyzptlk shows up and transports him to fucking Walking Dead land while he's in the middle of fighting the Borg off the Enterprise at First Contact. He has human flesh at that time. Gets bitten by a zombie. What would happen? Do you think it would affect his circuitry or his brains or anything like that? Because does he have a human brain?
Well, Rick would probably shoot him. So there is that. But no, he does not have a human brain. He's got a positronic net. It's not human. The zombie, anything normally related to zombies is a virus. And I believe in some convoluted way, The Walking Dead is also some sort of viral contact that you get, and then any way, shape, or form you die, you're going to turn into a zombie. But I think it was some sort of a viral thing to begin with. So he wouldn't be affected, his mechanical parts wouldn't be affected by a virus at all. And even in First Contact, when he had the flesh, he was 99.99999% mechanical. The only thing that was organic about him was the flesh. So it's a virus. I guess it would affect his flesh, and I could see it necrotizing and rotting if it was able to be delivered to his flesh, or I guess that one localized part. Because say his arm is bitten, right? That virus won't have anywhere to go but that arm piece, because once it's done, it can't travel to the face piece because he's really, he doesn't have a bloodstream for the virus to travel through. He's got, oil and lubricants, and those lubricants are probably so toxic to living things that the virus would probably end up being dead anyway. All the coolants and hydraulics and shit like that inside of him, I don't think the virus would survive for very long. So whatever flesh part was there, yeah, I could see it, but the rest of him would be cool.
That crushes my thought on sort of, I was going along with yours, but I figured that whatever flesh part of him did have the virus, if some of the blood from that flesh got on you, then maybe that, like if you licked, if you licked where the zombie licked, you would get it. But if there's not even any blood to carry the virus, I mean, I don't even see that happening. So there you go. No. Data is fucking zombie proof.
He has no blood.
There you go.
Congratulations, Data.
You guys get special Nerd Lives Matter nothing. You'll probably get a shout out on the Facebook group again. Maybe we'll tweet at you, but I haven't been on any of the social medias for this since like the day that the first one went up, unfortunately, because I'm not as savvy on Instagram and Twitter as I to me.
So we could have like 11 billion Twitter followers.
No, I checked earlier today. I think we have something like 9.
Oh, okay.
I think. We have more on Instagram than anything. And right before I was setting up my camera rig here, I saw on the Instagram account that I use for Nerd Lives Matter, which is the official Instagram, because I use a third-party app for my personal one, something popped up, and it was like Marvel Comics, Star Wars, and something else have started following you. So I followed them initially, so I think we have some like big corporations following us. So that's pretty cool.
Holy shit.
You should check that. I gave you the password. But all right, so there we go. That was Questions from Beyond or Ask a Nerd. Thank you guys a lot. Keep the questions coming. We definitely like doing that. It gives us the time to exercise our nerdiness without having to be all insightful. You know what I mean? It's a different type of insight, so we really like those. Keep them coming. And all right, that was pretty much what was on the docket for this episode. Anything else from you, man?
No, I think we've covered everything I wanted to talk about. Oh, except for the fact that Run DMC was in that
Yeah,
Ninja
but
Turtles trailer, and I was
yeah.
so happy
I
about
love
that.
I
Thank
love
you.
the fact that it's tricky as the song, and I took that as to heart as it's really tricky to be a Ninja Turtles fan. Yeah. But
There you go. See,
yeah,
tricky,
so as
tricky,
always,
tricky.
we're gonna finish up with letting you know we are, as we just went on about, we're on all the social medias: Instagram, Twitter at Nerd Lives Matter. Add us. Maybe it'll put a fire under our asses to get back on those. The Facebook group, of course, is Nerd Lives Matter. Nerd Lives Matter. Yes, I said it right. And YouTube, of course, Nerd Lives Matter. Always like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. A couple bits of information actually regarding the YouTube channel itself. We do have some more content coming out soon. We're not just doing the podcast on a weekly basis. I've been writing and making some videos that have been going up here in the last couple days. I did an unboxing earlier today for some Star Wars gift ideas. I did an actual Ninja Turtles reaction to the trailer from last night that I think is really funny and really, I thought it was really well done. But we're working on some really cool stuff that we think you guys are gonna like. I think it's a little too early to reveal anything, but it's some pretty cool stuff. It's not what anybody I think would be expecting from a podcast or from this type of thing. And yeah, so just keep on the lookout for all our stuff. It's gonna be coming out. We're both writers, we're both musicians. Dwayne's an animator and a comic creator. So we have a lot of stuff in store, and we hope that you really stick around and choose to watch it and enjoy it. All right, cool. So with that said, thank you so much. I think you got your outro set up. Oh, my bad.
No,
my
man,
bad.
it's your turn, man.
All right. Well, thank you so much again. My name is Abraham. This is Dwayne, your other host. We are Nerd Lives Matter, the podcast for Outcasts, where every life matters unless you.
God damn it, dude! I could have pulled something up.
It was more charming for me to just mumble. All right, guys.
Okay.
Y'all have a good night. Oh.
I
Have a good night. Bye.
Have a good night.